let's make this let's make it easy. Let's have some positive discussions. You know, the world's going through a pretty tough time right now, so you know, let's try to do some good stuff together. So from what I can tell, Vanessa and Regina are the two board members who are currently here. If that is right, let me just double check. So just to go through with the process, we'll just do a roll call. Actually, before that, Vanessa and Regina, if you don't mind, we were discussing about different ways to handle the minute-taking process. I see Jean Rene's here now, so we'll have a few, or maybe let's wait a second. Okay, so hi, Jean Rene. Welcome. Good evening. Also, welcome Tara from the board as well. So we were discussing about how to best do the minute keeping, and we think that the best idea would be for every meeting, which is once a month, we rotate between the board members who are present. So if I can request of Vanessa this evening, that's all right. I think you're muted. Awesome. Excellent. So just general guidelines for the minute taking. It does not have to be word from word. It does not have to be extremely thorough. What it should cover is just the general topics that are discussed, any motions that were brought and the result of that, as well as any major things to look, or anything that we need to look into further and find more about. So now let's quickly do the roll call for the committee meeting. Where is that? 1 second. All right, let's begin. Warren Burke. Let's just wait for Vanessa 1 moment.
Warren resigned from the board.
And just one more thing, if you can record which board members are present at this meeting. So we'll go through the roll call now. Warren Burke. Warren is not here.
Warren resigned from the board, so he's not going to count against your quorum.
Vanessa, you're here.
Here.
Shmuel Zvatman is not here. Are you here? Is that who S is? I don't know.
Suki, I believe.
Suki.
Regina Clark, you're here.
Present.
Allison Samuels. Kristen Thomas. Okay. So let's go, before we move into some old business, let's open it up a little bit. If anyone would like to bring up a comment or discuss something specific, we'll have a few minutes now to hear some comments. We also do plan tonight to hear a little bit more about the City of Yes subcommittee if Suki does attend. I did not hear back from her as of today.
Hi, Max. I'm here.
Oh, hi,
Great.
Suki. Hi. So I'm just telling everyone the general outline for this evening, and we look forward to hearing your comments a little bit soon.
Sure.
If that's all right. Awesome. Thank you. So let's open it up to the public. If anyone has anything to comment on, we'll give a couple minutes dedicated to that. Let's try to stick it to 2 minutes a person if there's the need for that. Seems like right now there's not much that is of pressing concern. Let's just be sure someone else just joined. Okay, so final call for public comments. Hi, Maxine, good evening. Okay, so let's move right along.
Maxine raised her hand.
Yes, Maxine, you can go ahead.
Thank you. Hello, everybody. I'd just like to say that the community, my neighbors, we would.
Maxine,
She disappeared.
Maxine,
Does not seem like she's on this meeting any longer. I'm not sure what happened.
oh,
All right, she's back.
Hello?
Yes, Maxine.
Yeah, hi, guys. You see, that's the thing with this virtual. It drives me crazy. Hello, everybody. I was just trying to share that my community, my neighbors, everyone would like to restore and revitalize the businesses in our community, certainly on Nostrand Avenue, Rogers Avenue. We would also like to have more enforcement, the Department of Sanitation to use more enforcement techniques and to have the shop owners clean their sidewalks, clean their curbs, clean the drains and the gutters. Also, maybe involve the chambers of commerce to encourage the businesses to keep their storefronts closed. I am a product of old school, and I remember when shop owners cleaned the front of their establishments. Also, I'd like to say we would like to keep the zoning, the commercial zoning along Rogers Avenue and Nostrand Avenue the same. C1. We don't want to combine it with anything. We want essential services, small businesses. We need flower shops and stationery stores and boutiques, donut shops and delis like we used to have, nice and clean. We do not need to mix it, if you will. My neighbors, we've discussed, we don't agree with Department of City Planning coming and doing this broad stroke, C1, C2, combining things without showing the impacts. In other words, what I'm trying to say, we need the impacts of specific areas. In our area, Nostrand, Rogers Avenue, Empire Boulevard, leave it as it is. We are already a dense community. We oversaturated. Enough is enough. Look what happened with the smoke shops. With absent a plan, rolled it out, didn't do the impact, and look what happened. willy-nilly and it's a mess, the smoke shop. So to summarize, let's revitalize, let's restore, let's leave that zone in C1. We're not in for this debate and switch. We've been down that road. We know what happens. Okay, who's the philosopher? It's a sign of insanity to do the same thing over and over again, expect a different result. We know what's going to happen. It's never any affordability and it's a complete mess. And I like my example about the smoke shop. Look what happened. You have to do the impacts of specific areas. My community is iconic. The Nostrand Rogers Empire guys, to let the resident bars with dancing. No. To let the corridors disrupt iconic and established in a beautiful residential areas with the corridors being our borders, it's not the way to go. It's not fair. It is just insanity to me. And I've spoke with my community as well. So I would like to say that during this community, where am I? I'm glad I made it just in time. Community gets to speak. Thank you guys for listening. And please comment, please.
Thank you, Maxine. I think you made some excellent points. Regarding just one quick thing I have for you, Maxine. You mentioned getting the Chambers of Commerce involved to promote cleaning the storefronts for small businesses in the area. In what way could you foresee their involvement being influential in that aspect?
Maybe, do they have regular scheduled meetings? Maybe some sort of town hall? Because I never see any presence with the Chambers of Commerce at all. That they could restart, because we used to have an active working Chambers of Commerce where they would meet, you think, and encourage the shop owners to clean. Nostrand Avenue is filthy. And many of you walk by it, and and it's just me that it bothers. I know that's not true. So, Max, did I answer your question? To get them to send out outreach or emails and say, "Come on, guys, we got to clean up." You agree, Max?
I agree very much with this, and I think let's go through the members of this committee, if it's all right with everyone, that we can begin outreach to local chambers of commerce. I'm very familiar with the Brooklyn Chamber of Commerce, but I'm sure there are even more localized chambers to have more of a presence in our community district. Like Maxine mentioned, I haven't seen much of a focus or presence at all in our area. And I think that beginning to get them involved is a step in the right direction. So if anyone has any comments on that, Tara.
Hi. I just wanted to mention in this community comment period that I'm very interested in seeing a list of businesses that we could go to during the upcoming holiday season from really November through January. If there's been any moves for that, I asked the economic committee for that a few times, but it would just, if is there's any way to find out that information, because I noticed that I have like lists or festivals, and you can go around to other businesses. And I'm really hoping for that, to discover new businesses and spend my hard-earned money in them and support them rather than Amazon. You know how it goes. So just hoping for that, everyone.
Thank you, Tara. I will reach out to the previous chair of this committee, who I know had such initiatives for the holiday season, and I will see if he has any available resources for this, and we'll work to build some sort of some sort of promotion for local businesses during the holiday season. All right. But sorry guys, one moment, just back to the idea brought to reach out to the chambers of commerce, back to Maxine's comment. Does anyone in the do any of the committee members object to that?
You got some hand raised by some of your members.
Okay, Vanessa?
Yeah, I think that we should actually reach out to the merchants associations. I don't know if there's still one that's working on Nostrum, but I know the one on Flatbush has recently rejuvenated, so to speak, and is starting to do work again. I think really that if we're going to call on the Chamber of Commerce, we should use them for free services to teach people how to open a business. So how to write a business plan, how to get financing, how to get funding, how to negotiate a lease, how to get a lawyer pro bono. These are things that the Chamber of Commerce can help us to do, and that will stimulate some economic development. The Merchants Association should be leaning on the tenants of the avenues to clean up after themselves. The problem is that New York City issues very small ticket amounts. So like a big building does not care if you write them $100 ticket and then it goes to a PO box that no one ever responds to and no one ever pays for the ticket. Apparently, New York City never follows up. So the ticket writing is not going to get us the results that we want. And I think either we do like some sort of campaign where we put up posters like, let's keep the neighborhood clean, and teaching people about like, this is where we live. We don't want rats, all the other things, is maybe a better way to go at it, because the Merchants Association hasn't leaned on anyone on Flatbush. I
The
don't know.
Merchants Association does, oh, am I unmuted? I'm sorry, go ahead. I'll wait until I'm called.
No, you're fine. I'm done. I'm just saying,
Oh,
like, they
I
could
was just
do
wanting
stuff.
to say, Vanessa, that they
Yeah.
are a ghost organization. They do, they don't do anything. They're not effective. They're not doing anything, the merchants. So
Well, maybe
maybe
we
the
should
chambers
go
of
to
commerce
them.
can encourage them to do their job. And I find that people react to money. When you hit them in the pocket, I agree with you that the tickets are much too low. They should be a whole lot more, especially with the rat infestation and the alleged administration's fight on rats. Increase the tickets. But I think work with both of them together if the Merchants Association on Nostrand Avenue even exists.
Yeah, that's a problem. I mean, maybe we should pressure both Merchants Association. I don't know what's up on Franklin Ave. And like, at least like send them a letter being like, you guys aren't doing your jobs. Like, it's behooving to the neighborhood for you to actually, and if you don't want that job as the head of the Merchants Association, like on the Flatbush Avenue, then maybe you should hand over the reins and there should be an election and you should vote for somebody new to take over, because like there's lots of work to be done and there's lots of people who want to do it. It's just, it seems like the people in charge are blocking a lot of it. Just from someone on the ground, as someone who owns 2 businesses on Flatbush, I know that they're absent. I'm very aware of that. But like, someone has to pressure them to do something. And I think that we should be the people.
Okay, excellent. Let's loop this back in for a second, close this off. If it's agreeable to everyone, we should identify the active or even the ghost merchant associations and send outreach to all of them within our community district to assist in identifying those. Vanessa, are you open to
There's
helping?
another hand that's raised.
Sorry?
There's another hand that's raised. Lisa,
Lisa.
Yes,
ETN,
thank you.
no problem.
Before you make any decisions, I'm closer to Utica Avenue. And I don't think we have a merchants association. I would love if something was started in order to try to bring different types of businesses to the area. And we also struggle with sanitation. We're a very high traffic corridor with the Utica Avenue subway stop. So I am very interested in this conversation of how we try to make the business owners that are currently there want to keep the area clean and given all the support that they can get, and seeing how we can attract new businesses, that a variety of businesses, again, not just smoke shops, not just nail salons, not just barbershops. We need a variety of services for all the people that are in the area. Thank you.
Suki?
I just wanted to add that the city has passed laws for waste containerization that currently apply to all food businesses, although I think not everybody is quite complying yet. And starting next year, it's going to apply to all businesses, and at some point next year also to all residential buildings. And I think it's possible. It requires a lot of individual containers to properly contain all the garbage. So, and that's, I'm sure it gets expensive. So maybe that is one area where an association of some kind could, make bulk purchases or something like that. And the other thing is, I think there's a strong incentive to comply, because if people don't use their little individual containers that they put out on the sidewalk, the city is threatening to put these gigantic, ferociously ugly dumpsters in the parking lanes. So you're going to lose your parking and you're going to feel like you're living in this landfill, basically. So I definitely agree. Now is the time to start talking to the merchants about sanitation and compliance and, how we can make that easy for them.
I think the question is for areas that don't have merchant associations or that have ghost associations, what is the best method of outreach?
Well, in addition to the chambers of commerce, there's also SBS, the Department of Small Business Services. I think there's a lady who lives in my, anyway, they should all have outreach staff. So whoever has the capacity to really go door to door, I think, right, Vanessa?
Yeah, it's actually easier to start a new merchants association than deal with a ghost one. So I know someone at the chamber that is eager to start merchants association. So I'm sure he would be happy to help on Utica. Maybe I can connect you, Lisa. And if you know like an anchor restaurant or store that would be like the person or the business that might want to be involved, that would also probably help.
I think if you can provide me with the information, I can certainly try to find someone. Just go to one of the establishments and say, oh, listen, this is what we're trying to do. Can you help? And see if they'll be interested.
Okay, great. I'll share that. It's Mark Caserta at the chamber. He's been doing a lot of that work, but I can get you his email.
Thank you so much. I really wish there was chat here.
No.
It's much easier.
Yeah, chat would be nice. We got to vote that back in.
Regina?
Oh, just here to chime in on that. And Lisa, I'm right here on Schenectady, so I'm frequently on Utica. So I'm happy to help tag team that.
And
I can
Kingston, Troy.
Oh, absolutely. All of those places, and happy to also speak from a retailing perspective as well. That's also my experience. So I think even just later in the agenda where it's the point about beautification, I think just really tying that back to fiscal and making it a desirable place to shop could be great, where we could go into more details on how to support and make it easier to distribute this information, because we all appreciate walking down the street and seeing, stores you want to go in to, and it's good for business, truly. So
Yeah, excellent. Definitely, I think we would all really love to see that happen. So unless there's any other comments, I think this would be a great segue to the first item of old business on the agenda, which was, as Regina mentioned, beautification of business areas. So I think we can, I'm sorry, that was actually the second. Let's begin with the first. We'll go into the second and rekindle this conversation a little bit. So in the last meeting, we discussed various ways that we can do outreach to find programs for small business owners to receive the financial literacy that they may need. And I forgot who it was during last meeting, but someone brought up that Chase used to do something. From what I did some research online, I couldn't find anything specific. If someone has more clarity on that, Dante, if you know anything about that initiative that happened, I'm not sure exactly when that happened, but I couldn't find any. Yes, Regina? Oh, your hand's still raised or something new?
I just put it back up, but
Mhm.
I'm wondering if, sure, Chase is great. They exist in the neighborhood, but there's also local banks. So I'm
Mhm.
wondering if there's opportunity for local banks to,
Yeah.
pay-
The reason why I was looking for the Chase initiative was because I wanted to see that was done in our community district. So I wanted to see the format. I wanted to see what their program looked like, but I wasn't able to really find anything. So I think if we do outreach to either financial institutions or even to small business, the small business department for the city or anything like that, I think we would have to kind of come to bring them propose. I don't feel that we can just approach them and say build a program for our community. I feel we would have to give them something a little bit more substantial. We would have to, see if there's actual interest, if we could get attendance for this, and then we can approach them and see if that's something that they could be interested in. But I definitely agree that local banks, I would personally prefer. I think it would provide more value for the community as a whole. Tara?
Yeah, the Museum of Finance and the library host quite a few finance type seminars that are really great to learn from, beginning and advanced. And I've gone to several. I think it's called MOTOF, the Museum of Finance. They're pretty. They have some really great seminars. Anybody who's interested should investigate. You might want to recommend that. Check it out. I'd put the link in chat, but I don't have it. I'm gonna find it for you though.
Thank you. Yeah, I think definitely to look at these various things that exist already, so we can kind of see the format and we can see what they provide, and then we can approach the relevant organizations, whether private or public, to help us with this initiative. And also, if there's any community centers, when I say community centers, I mean basically centers of influence within our community district that can help to try to gauge the level of interest in an initiative like this. Any specific individuals or any like merchant associations or other type of organizations, I think that would be also beneficial to identify. So I think that's something that we should spend a little bit of time doing before next board meeting as well. Regina?
Just the small business services, they have reoccurring programs and resources and whatnot. That'd probably be a fantastic starting point. And then that could be some sort of guide for some of these institutions that we potentially reach out to.
Yeah, excellent. And I was looking at them, and I was looking at the different programs they have. I was also looking at various other city or city-related initiatives as well as state level. But I think, as was mentioned, to keep it a little bit more focused and a little bit more concentrated is good. So the small business, the Department of Small Business, I think is definitely a great resource to look at. Tyra, do you have another question, or is your hand still up from earlier? Okay, excellent.
Sorry, I put it down.
No worries at all.
It's
So-
Museum of American Finance.
Museum of American Finance. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
I'll send it the link to Dante so we can share it right now.
Thank you so much. So I think that we should try to identify who it is that we want to reach out to by the next committee meeting, so we can start we can basically start getting the ball rolling on something like this without any formal commitments, of course, but just to begin the process. Regina?
Sorry, just to circle back on the holiday list.
Yeah.
So next month is November. Highest
Mm.
traffic season in retail is November, December. After that, in January. So if we're gonna have a list, if we're gonna do something, that list to start rolling would probably be best to have next meeting, or at least start it so it could be
Yeah.
distributed amongst the community in time for the holiday season.
Yeah, absolutely. Dante, are you familiar with the initiative from Warren from last year, I believe?
Are you talking about Shop Local?
Shop Local for the holiday season?
Briefly. I'm brief, like a little bit.
I know. I just wanted to see if maybe there was already an existing.
There is the list. I think Diana Richardson put together a list a couple years ago. I can find that. We should work off of that because it's pretty complete.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea.
You're right. I believe that I have it.
Yeah.
So yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Okay.
Small business guide. Business. If I find it first, I'll send it out to the committee. We'll just, yeah.
Thank you, Dante. Thank you.
No problem.
Yeah, but I agree that we should definitely have something to distribute by the next committee meeting. Time flies by, so we don't realize how close we're getting to the holiday season. But yes, I do agree that we should have that by next committee meeting. Anything else? So I think what we came to at the end of this was that the committee members should each independently try to identify a program that they'll see about financial literacy and come with some takeaways from what they saw or what they identified for the next committee meeting, possibly to begin outreach to an organization of the committee's choosing. Let's move along to the beautification of small businesses. So this is something that, is obviously, a lot of us have a lot of thoughts in it, and we discussed this a little bit before. Like I said, everyone would love to see businesses being clean and the streets being beautiful. But what are some ways, and let's maybe brainstorm here for a few minutes, what are some action items that we can begin thinking about to actually do this? Because as we know, there's a city aspect and the funds aspect, and then there's a threat of dumpsters in front of them. And then there's the merchant associations, which either do or don't do anything. So let's just continue this conversation from earlier for a few minutes so we had some great progress in regard to Utica Avenue just before, and I encourage strongly to follow up with each other on that. If you don't, I'm trying to think of what the best way to do that would be. Dante, if you have any thoughts on that.
If every member on the committee agrees and authorizes me, I can share you guys' email address with each other. Let's see.
Yes.
Okay, Regina's good. Okay, Jean's good. Okay, Cohen got it. Okay, perfect.
That's all right. All right, excellent. So I strongly encourage to follow up on that end. Vanessa, yes, Lisa?
Who are you sharing that with and how?
I'll create an email chain with the board members. I leave it up to the committee to decide if you guys want to do. I think a Google Doc would be probably a very simple and easy way to keep all the information in one condensed place, but I'll leave that up to the committee. But if you don't mind, Lisa, we have your email address. Don't know if you give me.
You should. I get a blast, but that's what my concern is, because I'm not a board member, right?
Yeah.
I'm part of the community, and I wouldn't know how to get that information.
Right.
Right,
So
so
if you give me permission, I'll be able to share your email address with the committee members, so you'll be in the process.
Yes, please. It's in my name,
Understood.
easily identifiable.
Thank you.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you, Dante. And I think the key person that needs to get your email address, Lisa, is Vanessa and Regina. I think that was the two people who need it most. So back to that. So I think Vanessa, I think you agreed to help to identify the merchant associations. I'll also work on that as well. So let's be in touch about that. And then we have to consider the best language and the best angle of outreach to the merchant associations. Because we don't want to come in, of course, we want to come in as friends who are able to assist them and who we all want to see the beautification of neighborhoods. The difficulty would be with the Ghost Association. So Vanessa, Regina?
So a thought on this beautification, because somebody kind of mentioned this about like getting the blocks. I'm wondering if there could be partnership with another committee on just like a block beautification. Every time I'm one of those people that's out on my street planting plants and trying different things. So it's like, if a way to spin it. So you're beautifying the block, because there could be a store, and then there's like, random apartment building, small apartment building. So, there is that, just considering that's something, the weeds. I mean, and there's one part where there's just, and that's not a, what do you call it? It's not a residence, like this park right here from the high school. It's just always trash and weeds. So it's not just the businesses alone. Some of it's actually, all sorts of facilities. So I think it could be something that, if we partner with another committee, I don't know if it's housing or who else, but that could potentially also make it not a, hey, you guys aren't doing your job. We're looking at a overall how to beautify the neighborhoods. And the other piece on beautification, I think it could be helpful, just the whole education piece of, maybe this is the Chamber of Commerce also helps, but just the going back to this, the understanding of the impact of driving, the desirability of coming into your store, restaurant, whatever have you, but actually seeing the numbers. I think there's different articles, but however this information goes out to the businesses, including that, so they actually can tie it back to sales, because sometimes they might not think about this thing is going to cost, but not see the ROI on it, when there generally is an ROI, especially older buildings that haven't been updated. And sometimes I'm walking by like, only if you change this, more people would probably walk in, especially as the neighborhood has been evolving over the decades. So that's it.
Yeah, thank you. Excellent point. Lisa?
Yes, I agree with you, Regina. I definitely think we have to tackle it in many different areas, but maybe there's a representative from this Department of Sanitation. Because I know sometimes like they will do special cleanups. And maybe if we can coordinate that, maybe for the corridors in tandem with some leaflets and information about how you can keep the neighborhood clean going forward. Maybe that will work.
Excellent. Yes, I think that's definitely something that that I should discuss further with the community board office. Vanessa?
Another thing I think that we might be able to help people with is like getting them on social media. That could help their economic development for their own personal stores. A lot of these older mom and pop stores aren't on at all. I don't know. Do we have any access to interns or anything? Like, because that would be a great project for a 20-year-old.
We actually will be getting some interns in a couple of weeks. So this is something that could definitely be right up their alley.
Yeah, totally. Young kids know how to do all this stuff.
Yeah, that's a great idea, Vanessa. Dante? Yeah.
Tara had her hand up first.
Oh, I'm sorry. Tara?
Oh, I just want to mention that the EP committee at one time got a grant, like Christian LeBeau and oh, I can't think of her name, Martina Victoria wrote a grant and got did some beautification in the neighborhood. And the plot that they laid was over behind McDonald's and it got dug up by DOT. Luckily, we were able to get all the plants we just planted away. We did this thing with a school group, and the BBG like grouped everybody in together, and we moved the plot and the plants to over in front of Fresh Remedy on Rogers and Sullivan. And now they've got this group of plants there, and they put a little table out, and I think it's really brought more business to them. And we also have this neighbor Cliff who does quite a lot of beautification. And we kind of work together on that corridor. If you want to walk by, they've made some amazing changes. You know, I help a little, Dante helped a little by bringing us that trash can. So there's a lot of small things that we worked on together to make that corridor better. And we've got some nice businesses there now, and we didn't before, and our marijuana store left. So think about that, like the grant writing, you know, people can do that pretty easily if you have a group. So it's just one way to do things that I found really made a big difference. So good luck, everyone.
Yes, thank you, Tara. Who was next? I'm sorry, I don't see a queue of who.
It's fine. Regina can go, and I'll go after Regina.
Oh, no, it's okay. The queue is like in order of the way it
Oh, okay. Yeah, you can go ahead, Regina.
Okay.
You're a voting member. So
All
go
right.
ahead.
So the okay. So as far as interns, local schools, LIM, you know, they're up the street, you know, other ones as well. So that idea, I think it's amazing. You know, it's a way to always get people involved if we have that ability. And then I guess Tara just had a question on which intersection, because I always like to walk around and check things out.
It's Sullivan and Rogers. If you come, like start Sullivan and Rogers and then walk up the block. And on both sides, there's been a lot of work by different individuals, and you could see like it used to be really terrible with nothing there. And now there's trees, there's plants, there's roses. It's very different, and it's a little downtrodden now because it's the end of the year. We just had the trees trimmed that we didn't even have. You know, I've lived here for a couple decades, so it's really wonderful. And there's a barbershop. Fresh Remedy is a wonderful new shop that's locally run, like mostly vegan stuff. They're on Good to Go, so promoting my local business. It's not my business, but I do want to support them.
Well, I think that's a good case study if anyone has any summer pictures or whatever And
It
even if
really,
there's
it
some
really is.
insight from those businesses, like, hey, did you see some upside to whatever have you, I think just hearing from local businesses on how things have helped, because we're all generally close-ish. But that's an opportunity to know that's here.
Yeah, we gotta help out no insurance too.
All right, thank you. Dante?
Yeah, I was just going to say the outreach should be extremely strategic because, walking into a business at certain hours, like someone had mentioned that they may not see the potential profit in the long run, which is 100%, right? So like in the immediate, it's like, you're in my face, you're wasting my time, get out of my way. If you've ever handed stuff out, you know how this goes. And so it's going to have to be very strategic. I also wonder, if we're going to be doing this outreach, considering the dynamic of the community, do we need information that's in different languages, right? Just so it's able to connect with people. That's just something to take into account. Yeah.
Those are definitely great points. Does anyone have any comments on that?
I mean, I think that we could maybe like flyer the neighborhood in like a couple languages, and then if people wanted, like, we could be like, we're offering help to get on social media. Are you interested? Just call us or send us an email, and then we'll follow up with you. Just like, instead of being like, hey, really wanted to ask you a couple questions, like nobody has time for that. Just like give them a piece of paper and walk away.
Mm-hmm.
And we may be able to advertise on the link kiosks on Utica and Flatbush as well. So
that would be amazing. Suki?
Don't forget Nostrand.
Sorry, even if you can't reach every
No.
business to say set up their own social media page, if there's somewhere, like whether it's a merchants association or even like our committee page, if we have an Instagram page or anything, we can do things like, post pictures of like events or like, products, like local products that we've bought that, and, like tag them just so, because I think a lot of times there's a divide in the neighborhood, like Vanessa was saying, where some residents like kind of have no idea what certain businesses sell or why they should even go in. Like they just see something that looks a little like fusty and they're like, that's not for me. Or like, they have a certain impression of certain types of businesses. Like, people always in my neighborhood always complain about the wig stores. But like the like a few months ago, there was this People's Ball at the library. I don't know if you guys know about it, but there's nothing like a party, to like spur you to buy a lot of stuff. And I must have spent like $200 in the neighborhood on my costume and my everything. And I bought a wig at the wig store and a whole bunch of like makeup. And so, like just kind of like promoting these businesses in connection with local events like this People's Ball is the Brooklyn Public Library at the Grand Army Plaza, or that kind of thing. Like even if they're not officially a part of it, like it may drive some traffic to them, and then at some point you can point out to them like, hey, here's what we've done for you and here's what we'd like you to do for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Regina?
I'm definitely for leveraging our website where possible. I think it should kind of have a list of businesses existing. Obviously, whoever's maintaining, I don't know. I could say also with social media, it's one thing to have it, but it's also a thing to manage it. And then so there is that context. But having some sort of presence is nice. But also just even as simple as a website, so people can understand what your business is, or the QR code, if it's closed. And it's very much so, I agree with, sometimes you're like, what is that? I don't know what's in there. am I going to waste my time by going in the store? So even the importance of just the clarity of your signage or whatever have you to drive in traffic. I do believe in definitely like mailing stuff if possible. I think there's sometimes we have existing things and you walk certain blocks over and over again, you start to ignore certain things. So it might be missed. I think leverage everything, but a mailer, simple thing, hey, here's some key strategies that can help, your business's profitability or whatever, contact us. But yes, definitely being strategic and also knowing that there's a variety of businesses. So, the restaurant won't exactly have all the same needs as, a apparel business, some things, inventory management. But those things, just knowing the nuances.
Yeah, I think that, and I think I see that the trend that we're heading in is to promote businesses being able to digitalize their presence to better promote them within the community. I think that's something that's very important, and I think we should try to see how we can leverage the community board's resources and online presence to further this. Anything else, Lisa?
What struck me from what Gina said, maybe there's some sort of toolkit, like a CB9 toolkit that we can brand to say, hi, we're here to help and link you to other places. Go to the CB9 website and you can get all the information you need to do A, B, C, and D or something. And maybe that's something you can put on the link. Say, this is the toolkit for businesses.
Regina, you have a comment on that?
I love that idea. And I think even QR code with the link thing or whatever, I don't even recall seeing that. But the toolkit can also link to existing services. So maybe people even forget, or they just throw up their business and might not even know that there's so many free resources in New York City. So that's probably a quick win. Link to small business services, link to whatever, if local bank has whatever it is. So for sure, I love the toolkit, the low hanging fruit item there.
And I think I have an in with link. I think I'll try to make sure of that to see if I do. So that might be helpful. But how we get something onto the link. Yes.
So I think that I really like this idea about a toolkit. I think if we can leverage the community board's website and have a page on there for resources for small businesses, I think this is something I'll bring up with the community board office. And then we would just have to work to create that, compile that list of resources. I could imagine that it would primarily be of existing resources, but if we're even able to add one more resource from our own initiative, I think that would all be worth it. Okay. Do we have anything else?
Lisa's hand is up.
Oh, Lisa, do you have another question?
Not a question, but I think whatever we can put out there, if we can get a page and just make it that people should continually go, because the resources will change and be updated, and to have a plan to keep it up to date. That's it.
I'll talk nuances with you, Max, obviously offline, but to be realistic with everyone, I just want everyone to understand it's a government website. So there is certain things that can and cannot go on there, right? We can't promote certain private businesses. So like, that's the reality that we're working with. Listen, wherever that gray line is, where we can help these small businesses, if we can do it, we'll figure it out. But I think it's going to take some, we're going to have to format it very strategically so it doesn't like bog down the website, but it can be done. I think it can be done.
Yeah, thank you for clarifying that, Dante. Regina?
Hey, whatever we could do is helpful. So
Mhm.
like at least we know like the SBS is right. That should
Mhm.
be good. And also even there's other, I can't find the local shop local. There's a black, the BNYC shop local list, but I would hope that they have a grander one as well. But those sort of low hanging fruit that exist that maybe that can skate by hopefully can be an easy win and easy to maintain, because I know that might be a lot to update. It's a quarterly or half year, yearly or something, I don't know, sort of cadence. So it's always just the most accurate but not too hands-on.
Okay. Yeah, excellent. Thank you. So, if it is all right with everyone, I would like to move on to the next matter of old business. Um, and I do need to say in advance that this idea that we spoke about last month regarding, and I think I was pretty like realistic last month when I said I think I was careful with my language that I said if we could begin the discussion to start doing outreach to start getting the ball rolling. So that's like 4 degrees away in regard to promoting innovation and entrepreneurial initiatives within our community district. That is a huge undertaking. Something that, turning these, and so that's something that's also, of course, very connected uh, with zoning as well, and it involves other committees. But I think we all agreed during the last committee meeting that there's a lot of untapped potential within our community district from across all the demographics, and I gave some specific examples of how I was in certain places, not in our community district, in other parts of the city, where there were founders of companies from our community district. They still currently live here, but there weren't any of the resources for them to incubate their business here. So they decided to go elsewhere where the resources were. And I gave the specific example of NYU's Urban Future Lab. You have the entire Brooklyn Navy Yard is pretty much a whole hub for innovation and for that type of stuff. Obviously, we have to be realistic that within our community district, it may be a little bit tough to have something of that scale, of course. But if there's any, and I think there's another opportunity to brainstorm of any ways that we can have some sort of involvement in that whole scene that's taking over in New York City right now. I can say because I have intimate working knowledge of it every day. It's taking over New York City now. You have full weeks of Tech Week, New York City. There's so much stuff going on. And I don't see much involvement from our community district. Dante, you want to help me out with who was first?
Tara was first.
Tara.
I want to say that's one reason why we can't get rid of our C8 districts. That's where we need to.
Mhm.
That's where space for building potential businesses like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think.
Just think about our commercial corridors and where we could have that and what could be put there.
Mm-hmm.
So we've got a lot of new buildings coming up.
Mm-hmm. I think this will lead into kind of what Suki will comment on in a little bit. All right, who was next? Was it Suki or Regina? Or
Suki, then Regina.
Suki.
So I will try to tie this in later to some of the other things that I'm talking about. But, one resource I wanted to mention is Empire State Development Corporation. I think you all have probably heard a lot from them or seen them lately because of the Vital Brooklyn project, where they're bringing a ton of housing, including supportive housing, to the district. And maybe some people aren't so happy with that. But, when I started looking to this thing, I realized that what Empire State Development Corporation does in most of the state is not housing, it's economic development. So like what they'll do is they'll give Main Streets grants to like small towns, for precisely beautification, like preservation, like attracting tourism, that sort of thing. They also do innovation grants, like they're kind of like a mini venture capitalist where they invest money in like businesses that they've identified as state strategic priorities, which can include like anything from life sciences to like you know like it's like you know like the whatever our government's social priorities are. So like in the past it's even included things like mental health or like you know helping underserved communities with care. And so just you know like I think that you know you need to pressure them to do the economic investment in our community, not just upstate. And they've done some economic investment in New York City, but just not in our community.
Yeah.
And I think that there needs to be pressure on them to
Mhm.
do that.
Yeah. I have, you know, decent exposure with Empire State Development. I definitely agree that, especially in our neighborhood, I mean, things like life sciences, biotechnology, when you get a little bit closer to our hospital system over here, our universities that we have within our community district, I think places like that could potentially be natural grounds for innovation and type of ideation to come out of. So I definitely agree with that. Dante or Regina, whoever was first.
Regina.
Oh, so just calling out just places for development. So I know we definitely have some like co-working spaces. Obviously, they're a little smaller. But also even what are partnerships like with schools? So like Medgar Evers, like is there opportunity there? It is very true. You know, when I want to go do whatever, try to mix and mingle and work with other people who are founders, it's just, you know, go to the library or go literally outside of the community. So, you know, it would be great if we could leverage something that's existing and build the partnerships there. I think it's a upside to the schools of like people being able to interact and actually see facilities. And even potentially, is it one day a month, throwing out a random date for the commons, for the workspaces, where there's events or something like that. If there's some of this financial literacy, whatever we have going on, you know, get people in those facilities to actually experience it. They might not, they'll get the free opportunity to experience the facility if there's events here and there. Like I've definitely gone to, I forgot what that space was in the city, but even WeWork or whatever, where people are hosting events there, and it's nice to actually see the facilities and all the things you can get if you wanted to utilize their thing.
Dante?
Yeah. Awesome. I was going to say Medgar Evers. We should definitely think about using it. It's there. It's an institution that has credibility. Like I think that there's an opportunity there. Like ideally, we would have a good relationship with our schools, and then we start pumping folks from our schools right into Medgar Evers. And you know how people do that. But it's beautiful to hear that people are saying Medgar. So it's glad to hear that that's on top of the list.
Yeah, that's great. And I think we have to identify the correct way to utilize that resource that we have here, which I agree there's big facilities, there's a lot of people there. And I think that's something that we also definitely have to look into. And maybe by the next committee meeting, some of the committee members can have some further ideas, and I'll also speak with the board office staff to see if they have any particular contacts or methods of outreach or stuff like that. I think that's an excellent idea. And I think promoting to the students there and to students in general that if they would like to find the resources to do something and to grow and to, whether it's starting a business or whether it's just presenting a pitch, I think that would be absolutely incredible. I think Giovanni raised first.
Hi, you guys. So I was reading the website for ESD, Empire State Development. And I noticed one of the things that ties in is that they work with strategic partnerships with universities, and, you know, incubations, that sort of thing, you know, promoting entrepreneurialism. I think that'll be really fertile grounds for new business, definitely.
Yeah, that's definitely a good tie-in with what we were just talking about, Medgar Evers. I think once we, you know, from my opinion, and the committee members and the public could comment, from my opinion, once we have a solid idea of what we would potentially want to do with Medgar Evers, then we can think about how to loop in Empire State Development. And if they do,
Remember? Oh,
yeah,
go
sorry.
ahead.
No, go ahead.
Oh no, I remember one of my last jobs, we did like a Shark Tank type situation.
Mm.
You know, people presented their ideas, like different rounds, that sort of thing.
Mhm.
You know,
Yeah.
there doesn't have to be money involved, but it'll help, you know.
Ideally, there would be.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another good idea. Regina?
Just to go on top of this, the interning with local businesses, those opportunities of building the relationships. I think we also should understand as we're reaching out about like understanding the businesses, the type of businesses that exist here. And then what was I going to say on the Giovanni's idea of just, you know, even sometimes what General Assembly did at one point, and I was at a startup, and we had UX designers, right? And they actually pitched, like, basically a part of their assignment was to support or just work with a business, and they chose our company at the time. And they did a whole project with all the customer research, and then they pitched an idea, and we just really said yay or nay. So I think there's things that can be done, and it was free for the business. And even if it's you know, locally beyond Medgar, because I don't know what majors and whatnot, but LIM would have visual merchandising. So there goes the beautification, and whatever have you. So I think even if we could get even small projects, that this is building your portfolio. And, you know, again, the business has the choice of saying yes or no, and you can actually submit whether if you want to participate in such a thing or not. We did actually submit to get the support, and it was pretty good. So
Yeah, that's another great idea. All things to consider when we think about how we can best interact with these local colleges and organizations and the different programs that we can potentially present them when after we reach out initially. Anyone else? All right, so now if we're able to move along to the new business, which for tonight we have regarding the City of Yes initiative. Specifically also how it relates to the City of Yes
I'm
subcommittee.
sorry, Max, I hate to interrupt, but I almost forgot. Can I just interject and ask one question of you guys? Are you
Sure.
Are you at all involved in the illegal smoke shops, the proliferation of the illegal smoke shops in our community, specifically on Nostrand Avenue between Empire and Lefferts, in close proximity with MS 61, St. Francis of Assisi? It's a horrible situation. It's setting a culture, and the community sits and watches helplessly and can't enforce. I have reached out to OMC, whatever their name is, all of the electeds. But again, has this committee, economic development, at all gotten involved and tried to, I would like to put a moratorium, a resolution to close the illegal 2 smoke shops on my corridors as I watch our children in and out of there.
Thank you. Thank you for bringing this up, Maxine. This is not something that has yet come to my attention, but it is definitely something that I will inquire about. Thank you.
Yeah, we have the same issue. Vanessa and I have been, you know, dealing with the smoke shops on Flatbush too. All the neighbors are really upset. We've been to the elected officials, we've been to OCM. So definitely, and I've heard that other community boards have resolutions against smoke shops that they've passed. Dante, I don't know if maybe you can get copies. I heard the district manager of Ward 14 say that they did
Okay.
something.
I'll reach out to Sean.
Yeah, thanks.
What does a resolution do?
Puts pressure on the elected officials to do something.
It's a statement from the community board, like the moratorium for the resolution against 5G.
Mhm.
Okay, I'm just hoping it'll
Yeah.
actually do something. It's
Yeah.
like, not like they don't know, they all know. I mean, I just talked to Rita Joseph about it a couple nights ago. Just-
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's definitely frustrating, but the more we're able to clarify our stance as a committee officially, which is the purpose of the moratorium, that's us serving our function. So, Lisa,
I think Regina was first. And was up first.
Regina.
So this came up in the public safety committee meeting. And I know they were gonna try to potentially have someone from OCM come to one of the meetings to talk about it, because also like, you know, there's so many different shops and so many different levels, and whether it's like, what are the rules around it? But if it's illegal, it should be able to be closed. But that one was definitely one where it came up in that particular committee meeting, and proposing having someone to come in and speak about the different nuances, because I know there's a variety once it became legal, and then even, you know, hemp is cannabis sativa, you know, so it's a wide range, and I think, you know, it should be one of those things that's tackled by whoever owns that. And I think the last thing that was mentioned was around just like, you know, putting in whatever tickets. Obviously, you know, we know how some of that goes. You know, your 311s and whatnot. But if there's something that's existing in another board, then I hope we can actually pull it out here.
Well, my point is illegal is illegal. And this
Yeah.
is a dire situation in my neighborhood. As I said, it is steps from 2 schools. It should be closed immediately. It's a crisis, specific area. It's right by the school. And the neighbors watch as our children go in to these illegal places. I mean, it's nice to have OCM come in and talk, but this is a crisis. I think that it needs to be addressed immediately, and I was just wondering if you guys were interested in putting the pressure on. Or no,
I mean, they addressed it already. I mean, they did address it. I feel like a month ago, they had a meeting with the governor. I was there. I never created like a new task force. I mean, to go to other shops. So now they create like a fine for the homeowner, those people who live in those shops. For the shop, they will tax them and give them fine to the landlord. I mean, I saw the governor, and then there's so many people complain. I think it was like a month ago, and then they created like a new task force. They invested it. I mean, I think so, and I was there for the opening. So.
Yeah.
I think they're definitely working on it. They're working on the shop. They're definitely working on those. So there's a lot of complaints. So
yeah. Okay, thank you.
Can I just say one thing about the smoke shops and economic development? I think that a major way that it impacts is that these guys are willing to pay the high rents and no one else is. And so the landlord's like, well, this guy paid it, so I'm not going to lower my spot down the street. Like, these spots are getting filled with these illegal smoke shops. So it's bad for everyone else who wants to rent an actual legal place, because the rents stay really high, and they're all very high right now. And that's, I think, contributing to it.
That's a great point. It's a very good point. Lisa?
Yes, it's called gentrification.
Lisa?
So what I'm hearing, oh, thank you. what I'm hearing is that there is a task force
Yeah.
for this.
Yes.
How can we let that task force know if we think that there's a business that is illegal, right? And how can we identify?
There are no legal smoke shops in Brooklyn.
Maxine, if you don't mind speaking when you're called upon, that would be extremely appreciated. Thank you.
Right.
I apologize.
No
Apology. I didn't
worries,
want to.
no worries at all. I understand this is something you're passionate about, but let's hear Lisa finish, and then we can all give our
Yeah, I'm
input.
just trying to, like, we probably know they're illegal, but what are the telltale signs? What are signs of a legal establishment also? Is there some place that we can go to get that information? And how can we, if we can determine if something is illegal, let the task force know that they can come and do something about it?
Mhm. And
I think that I sent out an email a long time ago to the board. Let me see if I can dig it up. Legal smoke shops will have a clearly defined sticker that says New York
Yeah,
State.
yeah, that's true. That's
It's,
correct.
you cannot replicate it. Let me
Is
see if I can
easy as
dig that up. Yeah, right, for now. Right. Yeah, you're right. They're printing houses now. Let me see if I can dig that up. And then I'll try to strategically put it in our e-blast.
Yeah,
in a
very
way where
stickers.
it's one, and it's just like, here, people. Okay, so let me
mhm.
try to get the information, and then that.
Thank you, Dante.
Candace.
Regina?
I think that would be helpful. But yeah, that's the thing. One of the things that came up in that public safety thing is about defining what is legal and not legal, and some of it's marketing. Like I have yet to step into one of them, but I have gone to forums where they talked about changes and trends in legalization of some stuff. I actually knew someone who was selling medical marijuana in California at one point because he had MS. So you don't want to parade around. So I think that's where the concern in that public safety was about, like, how do we identify it? But if there's supposed to be stickers and then there's not, and then there's concerns. But one of the things that I guess Fred Baptiste had said in one of these meetings, it's all a blur, I've been going to a lot of them, is, as you're doing like your tickets or whatever, like emailing, because you can't follow up with certain things. Via 311, just the way the system is set up, it's kind of janky. So once they remove it, then you can't follow up as easily. But piping up those concerns, escalated because we had concerns around safety, some other things, and it was hard to quantify it and really speak to it in some cases. So that's where he had mentioned some of that. So you get clarity around, like, what is it, the location, and it's already something that has been registered in the systems that may be, whether it be police or 311, but again, like, those might disappear or be hard to follow up with. So escalating it via email was one of the things he did say.
Tara?
I think I found it.
I agree with a resolution. I just wanted to say that there was meeting for community board members with the OCM, 2 meetings that happened last week. I went to 1.5 because I missed the first one because I got a late notice. But there was an article that just came out in the Gothamist. I sent that to the safety committee about community boards and what's happening with the licenses in regards to the OCM, that's the cannabis management. So there's I sent a whole thing to the community board to CB9 that they sent all their slides and all the links and all the information. I sent that to Dante. I sent it to, I think it's Janelle, the safety committee chair, and they have a WhatsApp, and I sent them the article for the Gothamist. Everybody should read that because it's directly addressing community boards, the article, and what they're dealing with. The Manhattan has a lot of action in Queens. I think we may be a little later because there was that lawsuit against Kings. I'm not really sure, but you should see what they're dealing with. And also CB2, I can share a document that they're working on CB2 in Manhattan. They're also the people that helped with the 5G moratorium resolution that the EP passed with CB9. So they have a document of all the questions that they have in regards to what's happening with the licenses. So it's really good to see that, and you can comment. It's just like a working document that they're sharing with all community boards across the city.
Yeah.
I sent it to the community board, I think a couple of days ago. So definitely should have all of that you can forward it to anybody who's interested. And contact me if you want it as well.
Yeah, I definitely have the questionnaire. I am the one who requested it from Susan Stetzer, who's the district manager at CB2. So I will condense all of this information in hopefully a readable format and try to get it out to everyone. We definitely put it in our e-blast. So if you're on our e-blast, look for it there.
Regina?
Sorry, I guess maybe to round this out, but so one of the things that I did learn about these businesses is, and I'm not too privy on the OCN, like this rules, is a lot of them are cash businesses because certain institutions won't accept certain dollars. So it's like, what is that impact on other businesses? And the last meeting we had, the first meeting for this fiscal year, we talked about theft. So, I think we should at least stay in awareness of what's happening with that to just make sure what is the whole impact as new ones come up. How does that impact the local area? Because again, I think the last time since it's not federal, it is treated differently by institutions. So
OCM.
Okay. Tara, do you have something else, or is your hand still up from before?
Oh, no, sorry, I put it down. Sorry.
No worries at all. No worries at all. All right. So I think we have now kind of closed off this discussion, and we can return back to the new business, which is regarding the City of Yes and the specific subcommittee that is on our community board. That subcommittee is being led by Suki, who has joined us this evening, and I asked her if she can give some comments about what the agenda of the subcommittee would be, and we do plan on having a representative from our committee on there, if that's agreeable with the members of the committee. So Suki, if you don't mind to take it from here.
Hi, Max. Thank you. So the subcommittee, we were asked to put members from economic development and land use. So the committee currently is myself, John Craver and Nicola Cox, who are from ULURP, and also Vanessa Raptopoulos and Regina Clark from economic development, agreed to serve. Thank you very much to both of you. We did have our first meeting last night. The schedule, unfortunately, is very compressed. They're planning to refer the text amendment to community boards in late April, which means that now is kind of our time to get some preliminary comments in. So we met last night to go over the proposals. And I would say that they're intended to remove what they call zoning impediments to businesses opening in the community. But it does, as Maxine say, amount to like a kind of citywide overhaul of the commercial zoning code. So I think like to sort of, Max, do you want me to like explain what it means at all, or just like what the subcommittee talked about and what we're going to do next?
If you don't mind giving a brief overview on what was discussed. I think at this point, most of us are pretty familiar with City of Yes. If anyone is not, can say now, and Suki, if you don't mind briefly. But
yes. So, So basically, we went over these proposals, and I guess I would say in summary, there were certain things that I think everybody was very concerned about how it would apply to CV9 and didn't feel they were appropriate, like adding corner stores on the ground floor in residential areas where stores are not currently allowed. That would actually affect an enormous number of lots, not just in CB9, but citywide. You know, we calculated it would probably add millions of square feet of commercial space. Whereas I think we all realize that vacancy is already a problem on our commercial corridors, you know, similarly with proposals to allow more commercial use on upper floors of buildings or, you know, expand. I think home occupations, we felt maybe there should be a little bit more flexibility than there is now. I think nightclubs were a concern for people. They want to, currently they're not allowed in any commercial districts, only manufacturing districts, but they basically want to allow them everywhere. And I think that was concerning to people. Then there were other things where, as Maxine says, they're really just combining a lot of the categories. So like allowing more manufacturing uses and more automotive uses in our retail corridors. So, you know, they are going to be subject to certain restrictions, size restrictions, you know, environmental restrictions. You know, I think one of like, we got kind of like two types of concerns. One was people saying, you know, like a lot of the, some of the standards are very vague. You know, they're very sort of like just talking about things like not having too much traffic or not having objectionable influences, and certain things are going to be decided by the Board of Standards and Appeals. And people felt like, well, who's to say what's too much traffic? Who's to say, you know, what's altering our neighborhood character, or what's an objectionable influence? It's not going to be us, it's going to be the BSA, you know, that's not so good. You know, we want to keep these decisions at the community board level. But then also on the other hand, you know, there are these performance standards that are applicable now that are quite specific. And so if I may, I just want to show you an example of this, because I'd be very interested to get your reaction as an economic development committee. Would it be okay if I shared my screen?
Dante, do you do that?
Yeah, you should be able to share now.
Okay. So okay. Okay, so I'm just going to talk this through. Okay. All right, now this, hold on a second. Okay, so like this is what they wanted, an example of what they want to do that I think is pretty significant, which is expand opportunities for small scale clean production. And it seems pretty innocuous, you know, like I think the idea is like somebody, you know, making jewelry in the back of their store, or ceramics, or baking or something like that, that this should be permitted for them to do this in part of their store and then, you know, sell in another part of their store. And then when you start to look at in their proposed text, what actually they're allowing, it's quite wide. It's a lot of categories of manufacturing, you know, all types of food manufacturing, beverages other than distilleries, textiles, apparel, leather, machinery, metals, wood products, clay and glass, soap, printing, paper products. But what are these environmental restrictions? And so this is what, I'd like to show you guys. Permitted, this is exactly the language from the new zoning text. Permitted uses in all commercial districts shall conform to the performance standards for M1 districts as set forth in section 4240, blah, 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 regulating heat, humidity, and glare. Such use does not have a New York City or New York State environmental rating of A, B, or C under section 24153 of the New York City Administrative Code for any process equipment requiring a New York City Department of Environmental Protection operating certificate or New York State Department of Environmental Conservation state facility permit. And under, the city right to know law does not have to file a risk management plan for extremely hazardous substances. So I kind of wanted to get your reactions on, two things. First, do you have a sense from this, what type of businesses would be able to open on a retail corridor? Like, for example, somebody mentioned wanting to open a ceramics studio that has a kiln. Would that meet the performance? Can you tell if that would meet the performance standards and would be able to open? Would a dry cleaner be able to open? Would they meet the performance standards? And then the other half of it is, from the resident, from that, and that's from the business point of view, like, how can you tell, like, can anybody tell me, who can open? And then I think the other half of it is from the resident's point of view, like, does this tell you if, Tara had brought this up, am I protected from exposure to carcinogenic chemicals? Am I, somebody else brought up like disability access, like will this impede disabled people trying to access the curb? Like, will the curb be more blocked by cars or trucks? So like, I just kind of want to get your reaction on that, seeing the actual law. Because part of what we're trying to do is make recommendations to them on their zoning changes.
Regina?
I'm not sure if you had the other screen, because I'm seeing, sorry, I just wanted to, because I know you had a thorough thing last night. So we're seeing proposal to that first page with retail, the comparison of C1 to C2.
So this is just like, I didn't want to go through the entire thing again, because this is not my committee. But I just wanted to just to give you a flavor of what's going on here. Like, I just want to talk about this specific proposal for small scale production and kind of get a sense from you guys. What do you think as a small business? What is your reaction to these new rules as a small business committee? Like, can you tell, because one of the things that was raised repeatedly, I think, was like, how do we know if we can actually open a business? And then on the other hand, how do we know if our quality of life is protected? So I'm just wondering, like, if you guys looking at these rules, like, do you have a sense of either of those things?
We're not seeing the rules, is the screen is what
okay. So this is part of the code. It's a listing of the categories that are in theory permitted in all commercial districts. And this is a little small, so I've just kind of summarized them here bigger. So this is theoretically in all districts, like there's a bunch of categories that are of manufacturing that are allowed on retail corridors under the new proposal. But they shall all be subject to these environmental restrictions.
I'm not sure if we're seeing the same page here. Regina, is that what you're referring to?
That's what I'm thinking. She is trying to show proposed allowed use and restrictions. So you might be showing us a different screen, Suki.
Suki, can you stop sharing and reshare?
Yep. Okay. Okay.
There you go.
Okay, there we go.
Um, So this is slide 19, right?
Okay, can you see this? Hold on. Proposal 3?
Yeah.
Okay. So this is the proposal to allow small scale clean production
Mhm.
in retail districts, which currently they're only permitted in manufacturing districts. So the idea is to allow more types of businesses to open, but subject, to environmental standards and size restrictions.
Mhm.
Um,
So
Go ahead. So like this is the list of businesses that are allowed to open, of manufacturing uses that are now permitted, which didn't used to be permitted. And you can see it's quite a comprehensive list. It's a lot of different kinds of things. But
We can't see the list, Suki.
yeah, we're
Oh.
not seeing the list here.
Have to keep going
Okay.
down.
Try it again. Um, Here we go. My apologies. Okay.
Mm.
Is that better?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So in theory, all of these things are permitted.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see it's a pretty wide list: food manufacturing, beverages, textiles, machinery and metals, wood products, clay and glass, soap, printing and paper. But they will all be subject to these environmental restrictions. So this is what I was reading through. This is the actual code. And so Zhang last night, one of the members of the public, kept asking me but what kind of business can I actually open where? And so that's kind of what I'm curious to and then Tara was asking I just want to make sure I'm protected from all carcinogenic chemicals. Right? So I'm wondering, looking at these rules, can anyone, does anyone have a sense of what business would be able to open out of that list? And would you be protected from noxious chemicals or excessive whatever, noise, heat?
Mm-hmm. Regina?
Definitely concerning to me. And I also would just want to say, especially on Utica, there's been so many larger spaces that are empty that there's places for these things already, like the C8. So to adjust it, to place it in residential areas, like more residential areas, is definitely concerning, where we have those vacancies, several of them. So yeah, and I'm sure there might be others across the city. So I think it would impact our community for sure.
One thing that somebody brought up was, I wanted to open a ceramics studio, which they have a kiln. So I'm, looking at this and I'm wondering, would a ceramic studio be able to open according to these standards? I don't know. Does anybody else have a sense?
I mean, that's a gas line issue, isn't it? Because you have to bring in gas for the kiln. There's one on Beverly and right near, it's not our district, but right off Coney Island Ave in Beverly. But again, I don't know exactly what that district is. It's all residential except for that corner for some reason.
Well, so this says, I mean, I guess you can get a gas line if you ask the gas company, but according to this, they have to conform to performance standards for M1 districts as set forth in section 4240, regulating humidity, heat, and glare. And the use does not have a New York City or New York State environmental rating of A, B, or C under section 24153 of the New York City Administrative Code, for process equipment requiring a New York City Department of Environmental Protection operating certificate or New York State Department of Environmental Conservation state facility permit, and does not have to file a risk management plan for extremely hazardous substances. I mean, would they meet those standards?
Lisa, you have thoughts?
Yes. Just looking at this, it's hard to tell, right? So whoever is going to want to have a business in one of those districts is going to have to go through this specific, in detail to make sure that their business complies. But just by looking at this, we don't know. They didn't provide a list of acceptable businesses, right? Maybe that's something you can ask them for. They wrote the laws, right?
Well, in theory, they're all acceptable unless they
All
don't meet these standards.
So it's any business can go in these particular districts as long as they follow these rules that you have to really understand.
Right.
Got it. They don't make it easy, for sure.
Regina?
Yeah, I'm not sure if that place is still open on Nostrand, but I thought there was a ceramic or pottery or whatever, and there's all types of ceramics, so it's
Painted pot or something like that.
so without the clarity, yeah, but I think, going back to the point earlier around smaller, how big, how big is the exercise, is a question. But again, going back to earlier about the larger commercial districts. So why not have them in those areas if it's larger scale? So the way it's written, I'm concerned. It's not clear.
Maxine?
Let me unmute. Yes, I agree with Regina and Lisa. It's very vague, it's not specific. And I would like to say that the commercial corridors here are there, they were designated and zoned for a reason. They did the studies. Absent any impact of combining C1 with C2, I say it should be left alone because they were put in effect for a reason. If you want light manufacturing, put it in the manufacturing zone. And yes, Regina, there was a pottery shop, I think it's Nostrand and Fenimore. I'm not sure if she's still there. I bought a beautiful piece from her, Black-owned business, which are disappearing. But yeah, I agree with you guys. It's much too vague. My community wants the zoning to stay as it is. C1 on Nostrand, some C2, not manufacturing. And I'll give a specific example. On Sterling Street, corner of my home, there is now a light manufacturing facility, whether it's above or below. And the residents are complaining about the smell of the paint and the toxicity that's coming from there. So absent impact studies, I am very concerned. I would like for our corridors to stay as they are, no combine. I don't want it to just a broad stroke. That this is huge. You're talking about rezoning an entire district absent studies, and wait, more important, absent oversight. We need a separate independent agency to do oversight. When the developers come in, they say one thing, they do another. And absent oversight is a very, very dangerous situation, and these proposals are unacceptable. Thank you.
Vanessa?
I have a question about clarity. Suki, even if they don't change the C1s to C2s, do they want to add all this stuff anyway to C1s?
Yeah, they're adding this to every commercial district, including
Okay, so
C1 and C2. Yeah.
Different, it's just a different issue. Do we want to go to a C2 or do we want to change from C1 to C2 and also
add manufacturing uses. Yeah. So like whatever is allowed in C2 now would be allowed in C1. Plus, in both C1 and C2, we would add these uses that are now permitted only in M1 and C8.
So I think, oh, my video is not on. I think we're all on a similar page that there needs to be some more clarity with this restrictions. Suki, what is the subcommittee proposing to do in regard to?
So we would like to, it was like 19 proposals. So we managed to get through quite a lot of them, but we weren't able to vote on a full set of recommendations. So we did vote to continue working by email. And we agreed to loop in members of the public per open meetings law. They all seem to be happy with that, and we'd be happy to loop you guys in as well. I can ask Dante and Mia to pass on, like I'll set out each proposal and kind of our recommendation on it. And yeah, and then hopefully we'll have, by our next ULURP committee meeting, we'll have a recommendation to pass to the committee.
Yeah, that would be great. And I look forward. Regina, you have any comments?
Oh, just adding to that, I think the recommendation was also like if anyone here wanted to be on the informed, to send your email to the CB9 email address or something, so they could be looped in or whatnot. I believe that was correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's it. Yes.
Yeah, and I just wanted to say with regards to these regulations, I'm a lawyer and I started following this to try to see, look and see, okay, like I got to see what section 4240 is. And then I went to see what is section 24153, the New York City Administrative Code. And I tried to understand what ratings A, B, and C were, and I didn't. And of course, I nor do I know what a risk management plan for extremely hazardous substances is. So the answer is like, I have no idea if a ceramic studio with a kiln would be able to open. And I also have no idea, in answer to Tara's question, if she would be protected from carcinogenic substances. And, so I'm a little, yeah. But thanks for letting me share. And, we're going to continue working on this. It's involved, but I think we need to let them know what works and doesn't work in CB9. And Vanessa and Regina were there. Do you guys want to add anything about like what we talked about?
I mean, the consensus was most of the proposals were vague. I think the only reason why we didn't get to vote, but it was 3 hours later and it was late. So to go proposal by proposal to actually come up with, formed statements. But I think the consensus was really, we don't like the vagueness. We think there's probably going to be surprises. So, likely to take a more conservative approach with most of these. But I think it's about getting deeper into each proposal to really, have that consensus and a point of view to speak back to it. But we did talk about what things would change in our neighborhood, potentially things that could be brought, like the residential piece, the vacancies, of course. People should probably, you don't need the corner lot. You could, fulfill your business there. Some of the square footage pieces, about 5,000 square feet, and they talked about the integrity of the neighborhood. But, if the average square footage of stores are X in the neighborhood, and then you throw in a 5,000 square foot, what does that invite? Even just the theory of, if you're following retail, like small footprint is one of the things that a lot of these larger retailers are going for. So what does that invite as proposed to some of the smaller businesses in our neighborhood? So there's a long list of things that we had concerns with on why we wanted to take a deeper dive.
Tara?
Yeah, I just want to say it's not just my exposure to carcinogens that I'm concerned about. It's everyone's, and especially
I didn't mean that, Chair.
well, it's okay, but especially our children, and you know, just that what exists now and the lack of enforcement and the knowledge that we have of how the long-term health effects of the toxins that you know are in the area, even with the building, the demolition that's happening, the businesses that have been here historically and could come. You know, I just would like to refrain from exposing everybody to carcinogens within their living environments, you know, so and school. So that's very important to me for the future of the people in the world. So thank you.
Sorry. Vanessa?
I think the general consensus of the meeting yesterday that we were all pretty skeptical and pretty worried about giving an inch and the city taking a mile and changing our neighborhoods. We had some safety concerns about second and third story businesses. We had environmental concerns that we all just talked about. I mean, there were concerns all over the place. So I don't think that there was anything that we reviewed that we were like, yeah, this sounds amazing. So just as like a general meeting, we were not happy with the information that we received, basically.
Okay. Dante?
Yeah, I just wanted to quickly say, like, you know, with these proposals, you know, I think that it's important that the zoning we have to have the infrastructure in place before the zoning takes effect, right? Like, you can't have like a couple of houses in one space and then, you know, a 11-story building there. Like, that infrastructure, the amount of people that's going to come into that one spot will require additional services, right? Whether it's sanitation, whether it's underground utility work. Like, it's important that all of this makes sense and we're not just like hodgepodging a plan together to address the affordable housing crisis. And I do fear that in this city that we're trying to build really fast, but we're not taking into account like very specific areas, how precincts are split up into districts, right? As housing continues and more people come into districts, might need more services, right? So I just hope that, you know, we all take that into account, you know, as we review these proposals.
Thank you. Gina?
Yeah, I mean, even on my block, the houses, it's all like townhouses, and then just seeing how folks have come in and built, you know, things that don't even match at all. So, you know, there is definitely concern of any of those changes. And I lost my point, but it's fine. The whole point was we were struggling with really wanting to move forward with these things and the safety and, the housing piece. So like a lot of these things are shifting for commercial changes, but it's just like, if there's a housing issue, you're proposing that there potentially could take land or homes or whatever that might be up for sale to potentially be able to do whatever with it. So all of it's concerning, and they should be focused on, you know, giving people the right housing, you know, the services and infrastructure. I'm with you, Dante, on some of those things. I don't think it's right for some of the proposals that exist, but yeah, the consensus is, I think, that the blocks, and having personally, after living on this block for about 9 years, almost 10, the changes that I've seen, and also random people coming up to my house, hey, this is the doctor's office. No, you know, it's very confusing, and I think this will just add to it, multiply. So
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I think for my part, I'm in agreement, and I think most people from our committee have similar sentiments. So we do look forward to hearing updates from the subcommittee, and please do keep us in the loop with the recommendations that will be sent out. I believe that unless there's any other last comments, I think we can adjourn this meeting. I want to thank everybody for staying. This one went a little bit longer than the last committee meeting. But I have my takeaways. I hope you all do as well. Once the minutes are approved and published, I think we can all go ahead and start acting on the different things that we discussed tonight. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you. Great meeting, everyone. Thank you so much for hosting.
Thank you for
Thank-
having me.
Thanks,
you.
everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good night. Be well. Be safe.
Good night.
Good night, everyone.